In this video, I will provide you with a way to build a set of stairs outside using a riser support board, a couple of stakes, some screws, and even though this will not be the safest set of stairs you can build, I think it will be among the cheapest stairway you can build outside. So let's go ahead and get started by attaching our stakes to the riser board. Now, I'm not suggesting you're going to attach the stakes first. You're probably going to drive the stakes into the ground first and then attach the riser support board. And the stakes on the end can be even with the top. Any stakes located in the middle area here should be located a little bit lower because they could be a trip hazard, especially as the soil erodes. So keep that in mind if you're going to build a stairway like this, and you can use more screws if you want to, or even nails, whatever you feel like you need to use. However, your materials should be rot resistant, and maybe you might need to use treated lumber or galvanized zinc or stainless steel nails or screws. And you can simply start out by positioning a riser board at the bottom where you want the stairway to end, and a riser board at the top. And this might require removing some of the soil around the top riser support board. However, I don't have to do it in my model here. So the boards will need to be level, and I would suggest only attaching a few screws through the stakes to the riser board in case you have to move it. So do not add all of your screws because you might need to raise the riser board or lower it. And next up, let's go ahead and figure the total rise, or the difference between the lower level and the upper level, by using a straight board and a level, along with the length. And the length really isn't as important as the overall rise. And I'll explain a little more about that later on in the video. But it will definitely be helpful to get the overall total rise. And in this situation here, we're going to have 30 inches, and we are going to divide this number here until we get something close to 7 inches, or whatever you want the desired riser height to be. So in this case here, we're going to divide 30 by 4 to give us a 7.5, 7.5 inch overall riser height. However, I could always add another riser to give us 5 risers with a 6-inch rise for each individual step if I wanted to. And I do have other videos on that if you're looking for more information on how to calculate the overall total rise or run of the stairway so that you can create stair steps that will meet local building codes. And if you do not position the upper or lower boards, you could end up with uneven tread measurements unless you're going to build a stairway that is angled. And if the stairway is wide enough and meets your local building codes, you can do it. However, if you want to square everything up, then go ahead and measure from one of the corners, the inside corner here, to the corner over here, and make sure that this measurement here is the same as this measurement here. And if these boards are level and your measurements are the same, then you should end up with a square area that you can use to build your stairs. And I'll leave it up to you as to which board you want to move, because you could actually have a situation like this, and I went ahead and exaggerated it, but you could always have a square set of stairs at an angle. And of course, that angle could be in either direction. So make sure that even though your stairway is going to be square, that the bottom or the top will be located in an acceptable position for you if you're ever going to build a walkway or something to this set of stairs. Next up, let's go ahead and check the riser height. Since we're using 2x8, that is 7.5 inches, we already have our established riser height. However, if you need to, now would be a good time to raise or lower the riser board at the bottom or the top if needed to create the individual riser height for your stairway. So here we have 7.5 inches measured from the top of our riser support board to the lowest level or the lower level of our stairway. So we have a lower level and an upper level. And if you remembered earlier, I suggested that I was going to provide you with an easy way to line everything up here. Well, here it is. Just simply take a 2x4, a straight board, and mark it at the top of the front of the upper riser and the top of the front of the lower riser. And it really doesn't get any easier than this, especially if you have a straight board here that you're going to be working with. If this board is not straight, you might consider using a string instead. And to do that, you could just simply put a nail or a screw up here, a nail or a screw in the face of the riser, and then attach a tight string to that. I do have another video on that, on how to use a string to create a straight line, if you need more information on that. Then we're simply going to measure the distance from here to here, and then divide that up into the amount of steps we're going to have. And in our example here, we're going to have 3 steps. So we're going to divide this up into 3 sections. And yes, we're off a 1/16 of an inch here, and that should be okay for our stairway. So again, 3 equal sections. And if you're using a string, again, you're just simply going to measure from here to here and divide this area up into 3 sections, and then use a measuring tape to measure from this point to this point so that you can locate your riser support boards. So not too difficult. You're going to use this board or this measurement and then set this riser support board even with this edge of the string or this edge of the board. Drive a stake into the ground, put 1 screw into it, and then move the board over to the other side, or just simply grab your measuring tape and measure from this point to this point, and then make sure that the board is level, and then go up to the next board. So really isn't a difficult stairway to build, especially now since I provided you with some general installation instructions. And now you can go ahead and remove some of the dirt and backfill the areas that need to be backfilled. You can add and remove whatever soil you need, or you could always install some gravel, some other types of fill materials. I do have other videos about this type of construction. You can always check those out too. And if you do build a stairway like this, there's a very good chance that the soil is going to settle or get blown off of the stairway. You might need to refill these areas or shape the sides here so that the soil isn't going to be falling into the stairway. And of course, you could always use some type of a block to prevent the soil from coming into the stairway also. So there you have it, the basics for building something like this. And for those of you wondering why I extended this past, well, something like this might provide you with a way to prevent soil from falling down here into this area here and messing up the width of your stairway. Now, I do not know if this would be an approved stairway by your local building department, or if it will be a safe stairway for you to install on your property. So make sure that you check with your local building authorities, because soil, whether it's wet or dry, can be slippery. Same with gravel. So keep that in mind when you're planning to build this type of a stairway.